Hey threadheads, Darren here. Welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to tie my Tesla Coil Nymph. This is one that I tied up for our initial fly swap that we just finished hosting here. And basically the idea that I had for this nymph is something that had a little bit extra weight and a little bit of UV materials tied into it. And then I came up with the concept that this might match a Tesla coil fairly closely. So as you can see, I've got a body wrapped with some copper wire, and I've also got some UV materials in both the tail. I've got a little bit of UV crystal flash, and as well as in the collar. I did have a few opportunities to get on the water with this fly, and it's done quite well with some of the resident rainbows and brown trouts of southern Ontario. Don't forget to leave a comment below, and I'll get your name entered into the next draw for some decals and some of the flies that we tie on the channel. Alright, let's have a look at the material list and get started. Alright, let's get a fresh hook in the vise. Today I'm going to be using a Firehole 516. This is a barbless jig hook. And for the bead I'm using a tungsten, and this is a 3.8 millimeter with a black finish on it. So we're going to start off by getting a thread base on the fly, and we're going to be using some olive UTC 70D, and we'll just start in behind the bead, and we'll just put on a small base of thread just down to just past the tip of the hook. So our first material here we're going to tie in is going to be some of the crystal flash for the tail. I'm going to use about 3 strands of UV reactive crystal flash. And it's a little bit tough to see on the video here, but it's got a little bit of a purplish hue for the UV, rather than when you see the pearl, you'll see it kind of has a bit of a greenish tinge to it. So we'll just fold that over and take a single piece. We'll fold it over a couple times just so that we're not wasting a lot of material. And we'll tie that in all along the entire length of the body. And we'll trim anything that's forward up of the bead. And we'll just make sure that we tie that down just to our tie-in point at the back. And you can go ahead and trim that to whatever length you like. Next, we're going to take a length of copper wire. And for this, I'm going to be using the Uni soft wire in a medium. So you want to make sure that you clip that either with the scallop of your scissors, or make sure you got some wire cutters specifically for that job so you're not dulling your scissors. We'll tie that wire in along the close side, and we'll tie that in along the entire side of the hook. We just want to make sure that we keep our body fairly even here. And the trickiest part of this fly, I find, is just kind of keeping this body fairly even. So your first wrap, you want to kind of pull down a little bit on that, and then as you start wrapping, what I like to do is just kind of, instead of wrapping forward, you want to kind of pull it back a little bit just so that the wires kind of butt up against each other, and you kind of eliminate any gaps in between the wraps. So we'll wrap this up until just a little bit behind the bead, and if you do find yourself with a few gaps, you can always take your thumbnail or fingernail and just kind of push everything back before you keep going forward. And we'll make sure we secure that in with a couple wraps backwards and forwards. And then we'll pull that wire tight and we'll give it a few winds just to helicopter it off. Next, we're going to take our dubbing. We're going to be using an ice dub. This is the UV brown, so it's got a brown base with a little bit of UV fiber added in there. So we're going to add our dubbing in a loop. So basically, first we want to take a little bit of the ice dub and we'll just apply it to the thread as we normally would. You don't want to go too heavy on this. And next we're going to take a dubbing twister tool and we're just going to put that at the bottom of our dubbing noodle. I'm going to pull that up, the thread up to just behind the bead, just to close the loop. And then we'll just add a couple wraps of thread. And we'll give that a couple spins. And then we're just going to take our looped dubbing and we'll collar the fly with that. I like to just kind of pull that back as I wrap it, just to kind of as if you were wrapping a soft hackle on a wet fly. And you can also go in with a brush after you tie this in, and just to kind of pull some of those fibers out a little bit if you need to. Next, we're just going to add our whip finish. You want to make sure you add a little bit of head cement to secure those wraps. Give that a trim. And that's basically it for your Tesla Coil Nymph. Hope you enjoy that fly, and I hope you get a chance to fish it. It's been a fairly good producer for me so far this season. Hey fly tiers, thanks for stopping by and checking out my fly tying videos. If you enjoyed the video and want to show your support, hit the thumbs up and share it to your social networks. I hope you consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, be sure to hit the bell icon to get notifications on my latest fly patterns, tips, and reviews. If you have a question or comment, leave a message below. You'll also be entered into the next draw for some of the flies I tie and a few stickers. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.